Good evening. I call the April 22nd, 2025 regular board meeting of the Richland 2 Board of Trustees to order. The agenda for tonight's meeting has been published and made available. May I please have a motion regarding the approval of the agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Trapp.
I move to approve the agenda for the April 22nd, 2025 regular board meeting.
The motion has been made by Mr. Trapp. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Trapp and seconded by Mr. Dennis. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. I'm waiting for, it's not, well, let's see if it's coming on now to give me one. If not, okay, I'm there. Mrs. Nash, you can do a hand vote if you like. Okay, I guess you'll join us on the next one. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 3.1, executive session. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Porter.
I move to convene an executive session for the purpose of discussing student appeals, student admission requests into the district's adult education program, employment recommendations and certified releases, and an employee matter regarding the recommendation of termination of a professional employee.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Porter. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Porter and seconded by Mr. Dennis. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. The board will now enter into executive session. May I have a motion to end executive session?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Washington.
I move that we adjourn executive session at 6:18 and resume public session.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington and seconded by Mrs. Nash to end executive session at 6:18 p.m. and resume public session. Is there any discussion? Board members, is there any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The motion is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We will now resume public session. 4.1, Inspirational Moment, Pledge of Allegiance. We will now move on to Inspirational Moment and Pledge of Allegiance. For this evening's Inspirational Moment, we have the Showtime Step Team from Summit Parkway Middle School. And I had the opportunity to see them in action at the School to Watch, and boy, you are in for a treat this evening. They have been established since 2008 to help build confidence, discipline, and character in their members through the practice and performance of STEP team routines. Look out, sororities and fraternities, here they come. That requires precision, poise, and proper attitude. The Showtime STEP team was also designed to incentivize academic and social development while fostering a love for the arts and culture. Under the leadership of advisor Erica McCord and coach Avery Shorts, they strive to model just what Eagle Pride looks like on their campus. I present to you the Showtime STEP team of Summit Parkway Middle School. While they're lining up, I'm still waiting for my pair of pants. I think I told you guys, they are just too beautiful. Can't wait to get my copy. Thank you so much. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we move on, I would just ask Dr. Franklin if she could come and see if she could top that for us, please. No, just, there you go. Thank you, Dr. Franklin. We will now move to public participation. And I think there is one. Oh, I'm skipping ahead, but I do have this. Okay. Let's move to item 5.1, the consent agenda. May I please have a motion regarding the approval of the consent agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs.
I
Washington.
move to approve the consent agenda for the April 22nd, 2025 regular board meeting.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington. Is there a second? Second. The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington and seconded by Mrs. Nash. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please check the motion. Is the motion correct? Ms. Washington? Okay. Board members, please vote. The motion is 6 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 6.1, public participation. We have one person who has signed up to address the board. You'll be given 3 minutes to address the board. To assist with timing, the lights on the table in front of me will change colors from green to yellow to red. When you have 30 seconds remaining, the light will turn yellow. When your time is up, the light will turn red and you will hear a tone indicating your time to speak has expired. Before we begin, I will remind you that our meetings are streamed live and recorded. According to policy BEDH, comments from the public should not include gossip, defamatory words, or abusive or vulgar language. The policy also prohibits in public session any expression of personal complaints about individual school personnel or any other person connected with the school system. Specific student or personnel issues should be handled through the appropriate procedures as indicated in the district policy. Questions asked during public participation will be referred to a staff member for a response at a later time. I will now call up Felicia Jones-Hurting. Is Felicia Jones-Hurting here? Going once, going twice. Felicia Jones-Hurting. Okay, we will move on to 7.0, special recognitions. This agenda item in this session is special recognitions of our outstanding Richland 2 students. Dr. Moore, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask Ms. Darcy Strickland Rush, our Senior Chief of Communications, to present the students to the board.
While she's doing that, board members, if you would join me up front, please. And Superintendent.
All right, thank y'all so much. Good evening, board chair, board members, Dr. Moore, and our Richland 2 family. Tonight, we have the pleasure of shining a spotlight on the outstanding students and staff members in Richland 2 who continue to demonstrate excellence in academics, athletics, and leadership. These individuals are proof that Richland 2 is indeed purpose-driven and future-ready. Let's begin with academic excellence. We are proud to recognize the following students who earned perfect scores on the 2023-2024 SC Ready Math Assessment. So when I call your name, students, I'd like you to come forward. You'll be able to get your certificate from Dr. Moore and shake the hands of our board members and smile for a picture. We're going to start with Windsor Elementary School. Elias Hatani and Emmett Gonzalez. They're here tonight with their principal, Deanna Savage. Let's give them a round of applause. You could go right there. Yes, sir. We have so many students. I'm just going to keep this train rolling, okay? So, from Blythewood Middle School, Amina Calwood McCoy and Aiden Soong with their principal, Ms. Karis Mazik. From Dent Middle School, Owen Casado with principal, Tamala Ashford. I don't know how many of you in here are good at math, but a perfect score on SC Ready is not easy at all. From Longleaf Middle School, Nayeli Pitts, along with her principal, Teresa Mingo. Yes, ma'am. If you know that you're going to be recognized tonight, you can just line up right here next to Mr. Tony, and we'll get you in and out. Because if you're making perfect scores on SC Ready, I know you want to get home and get your homework done. All right? So you guys can come right up here with Mr. Tony along with your principal, and then we'll call your name. We have 4 students from Muller Road Middle School today. Savion Collins, Lakin Bradley, Robert Grant, and Melanie Martin. Let's give them a huge round of applause. Mr. Moses is here with the students this evening. One at a time is what Dr. Moore just told me. One at a time. Savion Collins. This is Lakin Bradley. Congratulations, Lakin. Robert Grant. Next, we have students from E.L. Wright Middle School. Mark Dill. Dad, you can come up front if you want to. We've got time. And Jackson Doby. Mr. Floyd, I think you got somebody who can help you with your taxes right there. All right. From Blythewood High School, Nasia Francis. Okay, let's give Nasia a round of applause in her absence. From Spring Valley High School, Shaman Arya. Mr. Timoni is on his way up. Also representing Spring Valley High School tonight, Mr. Sebastian Caza. We also have a special recognition for Tyler Nunnery from Blythewood Middle School. Tyler earned a perfect score on the 2022-2023 SC Ready Science Assessment. So congratulations, Tyler. What an incredible accomplishment, and congratulations to all of you as you prepare for SC Ready again next week. Yay! Everybody say yay. Now let's recognize a young journalist making headlines across the nation. From Richland Northeast High School, Lillian Murasevich. Lillian has been named the 2025 South Carolina Scholastic Journalist of the Year. The honors don't end there. She also won second prize in C-SPAN's 21st annual student documentary competition. This was a national competition that she earned second place in. Hold your award up, girl. And an incredible honor. Congratulations again, Lillian. Thank you. Now we're shifting gears to academic team competitions now. And a huge congratulations goes out to Principal Tamla Ashford, the Quiz Whiz coaches, and students from Dent Middle School. Dent Middle School, let's get up here. These students are the winners of the 2025 Quiz Whiz Middle School Academic Tournament that was held right here at R2I2. The coach is Dr. Timothy Hicks. And we can just take one group picture. The students on the team, Zane Bola, Sean Brunton, Elizabeth Etheridge, Aditi Gowda, Sebastian Jones, Shirhasha Devnagiri, John Newman, Liam O'Connor, Bilwatafi Olatsi, Murthy Pasala, Joseph Ra, Anahat Singh, Kinsley Wong, and Saurabh Salesh. And my apologies if I didn't get your names correct, but I'm so super proud of you, and so is every single person in this room. Let's give them another huge round of applause. Okay, perfect. Congratulations. And now from academics to athletics. At Westwood High School, Jaden Wilson is a 10th grade track star. Jaden is here along with his principal, Tamika Nicholson. He is being recognized for winning both the 100-meter and 200-meter dash, setting new school records in both events. Your entire Richland 2 family is so proud of you, Jaden, for your hard work and dedication. All right, let's give our students another huge round of applause. We're now excited to recognize the amazing work of our teachers and our staff. From R2I2, Kirsten Bullington. Come on up, Kirsten. Hands down, one of the most humble educators I know, but she has been honored by the White House as a 2023 recipient of the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. What an incredible and prestigious honor. Let's give Ms. Bullington another round of applause. Now we're going to recognize some coaches. At Spring Valley High School, we're proud to celebrate Corey Zimmerman and Matthew Oberly. At Ridgeview High School, Brian Rosefield and Josh Staley. And at Westwood High School, Dr. Garrett Knight. And why are we recognizing these five? All five of these outstanding leaders have been selected to participate in South Carolina's inaugural Tomorrow's 25 class. Let's give them a huge round of applause. Tomorrow's 25 is a statewide recognition of excellence in athletic coaching and leadership. This program selects and invests in 25 future leaders in the area of high school and middle school athletics across the country. All 25 of the selected coaches were identified by a committee, and they represent the best the state has to offer. The goal is for the selected coaches to have this time to deliberately work on their craft and a cohort of their peers so that they ultimately take that knowledge back to their student athletes and their communities. Congratulations to you all. Richland Northeast High School, we recognize the entire school counseling department for meeting the criteria to become a recognized ASCA model program by the American School Counselor Association. Yolanda Smith-Charleston is Director of School Counseling. Dr. Marlon Thomas is the principal. Tanika Pierce-Boney is Assistant Principal of Instruction. Dr. Otasha Morgan, School Counseling Coordinator. Rachel Blacker, School Counselor. Cynthia James, College Information Specialist. Congratulations to you all again. I know you all know we've got some of the best principals in the country. We know this. We know this to be a fact. But at Blythewood High School, Principal Matt Sherman is celebrating what I am referring to as a Triple Crown recognition tonight. The 2025 Secondary Principal of the Year by SCASA, the 2025 5A Principal of the Year by the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association, and the National Guard Principal of the Year. Let's give Mr. Sherman a huge round of applause. Congratulations, Matt. At Longleaf Middle School, Principal Teresa Mingo has been named the 2025 Middle Level Principal of the Year. This recognition comes from the South Carolina Association of School Administrators. So if you're counting, yes, we do have the High School Principal of the Year and the Middle School Principal of the Year. Okay. And before we go, we do have a coach from Westwood who is here. And what we know about great coaches is that they are here to support their students in every aspect. Ewan Dalrymple is an incredible swimmer. Coach, you see he's pointing at the ring. So we have a certificate for Ewan. Is it in your hand, Dr. Moore? Okay, perfect. I was going to put it in his mailbox because he's my neighbor. But we'll let you have it, Coach. And Coach, if you just want to holler out Ewan's accolades so that the room knows exactly what he is being recognized for tonight. Congratulations, Coach. And as a point of personal privilege, Ewan's mom says that he is competing on a national level now, and that's why he's training tonight. So that's why he's not here tonight. And finally, we close tonight's recognitions with a very special celebration for a Blythewood Middle School educator. Adrian Gerhardt has been named the Palmetto Citizens Educator of Excellence, presented by the Columbia Chamber of Commerce and Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union, easy enough for me to say. Susan McPherson is going to come forward now to present the award and share a few words.
Good evening, everyone, and I'll tell you, it's been a long time since I've been back in school like this, and I never did score perfect on anything, so my hat's off to everybody, and I told Emily I was glad that I was a cheerleader with pom-poms and didn't have to do all of this. So, but good evening, I am Susan McPherson from the Columbia Chamber, and it is an honor indeed to be here tonight. Richland 2 has been a business partner of ours for many, many years. Dr. Moore, we work with Dr. Moore, and all of our friends, Maria and everybody. So it's a great partnership, and we're also proud to be here with Emily Lewis and the Palmetto Citizens Partners. We have started this award in a way to recognize our teachers for their outstanding commitment. We are extremely proud to be a partner, and I'm going to let Emily tell you just a little bit about the award and how we got started doing this.
Good evening. I'm Emily Lewis from Palmetto Citizens. We're so happy to be here. We were supposed to give this award on March 5th, so you have definitely waited us the longest, so we appreciate you sticking with us on this. Palmetto Citizens was founded in the basement of the old Columbia High School. We had 10 educators got together, put in $5 apiece. So from this $50 pot, we go to $1.3 billion. And so our roots are in education, so anytime we can give back to teachers and be a part of that community, we are honored to be a part of that. So we were happy to partner with the Columbia Chamber and create this Educator Excellence Award. You are actually our very first recipient of this award. One of our students' moms nominated her for this, but I'm just going to read a little bit about everything that you've done. She began her career in 2011 in Kentucky and moved to South Carolina in 2020, joining the Kelly Mill Med Pro Middle, before going to Blythewood Middle, where she teaches 6th grade English arts. This year, she was also a finalist for the Teacher of the Year. What sets her apart is her ability to spark curiosity, foster civic responsibility, and create a classroom where students thrive. Olivia and Brittany shared how much Ms. Gearhart means to them and to so many others. Her passion, leadership, and commitment extend far beyond the classroom. She's a mentor, a motivator, and a change maker. So Ms. Gearhart, on behalf of Palmetto Citizens, the Columbia Chamber, and the community, thank you. We're thrilled to present you with this Red Apple Educator Award, a $500 check, and you'll also be featured on a local billboard here. So thank you so much for all you do and for everyone that you inspire. Thank you.
And I'd also like to say we have so many outstanding teachers throughout the district. If you know of a teacher, please go to Columbia Chamber and make a nomination. It's open for everybody. Thank you, and thank you all for what you do. Appreciate you.
Let's give a huge round of applause to all of our honorees tonight. You all make us proud to call Richland 2 home.
We will now move to item 8.0, voting on executive session items. 8.1, student appeals. May I please have a motion regarding student appeals?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Dennis.
I move to deny the parent's appeal for student number 1.
The motion has been made by Mr. Dennis. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Dennis and seconded by Mrs. Nash. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Mr. Dennis, please check the motion. Okay. Board members, please vote. The motion is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 8.2, student admission request into the district's adult education program. May I please have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Washington.
I move to approve the student admission request into the district's adult education program for students 1 through 3.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington and seconded by Mr. Dennis. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Ms. Washington, please check the motion. Is it correct? Board members, please vote. The motion is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 8.3, employment recommendations and certified releases. May I please have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Trapp.
I move to approve the employment recommendations and certified releases as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Trapp and seconded by Mrs. Washington. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Please check the motion.
Motion is correct.
Thank you. Board members, please vote. The motion is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 8.4, employment matter, professional employee termination recommendation. May I please have a motion on an employment matter regarding a recommendation of termination of a professional employee?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Porter.
I move to terminate the employment of a professional employee with the district effective May 23rd, 2025, with contract non-renewal for the 2025-26 school year.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Porter. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Porter and seconded by Mrs. Nash. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, board members, please vote. The motion is 6 yes, 1 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 8.5. Well, actually, we move to 9.0, new business, action requested. Dr. Moore?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As our CFO, Ms. Williams, makes her way to the podium, we are tonight presenting the first reading of the FY 2026 General Fund Budget. As we discussed during the workshop 2 weeks ago, we have to submit our budget to the county by May 1st. It is due on the 2nd, but we get it in on May 1st to make sure we meet the deadline. And as a part of that process, we present to them the budget that we are recommending for the county council to support. So in this budget, as you will see it, one, as you know, I am required to present a balanced budget to the board. And so this is what we will present tonight. In that budget, you will notice that we have several categories in the budget. The first category will be funding that will occur as a result of the funding we receive from the state. But then there's additional needs that we have identified, and based upon that, we have provided to the board recommendations based on a max millage request, as well as if the board opts to ask for less millage. And so the goal tonight is to provide the board with additional information around the areas that we discussed during the board workshop. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Williams.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Moore. The budget that we present to you tonight funds 16 items on a recurring basis based upon the priorities that have been established by you as the board, the superintendent, and presented in survey responses from parents, students, employees, and our community stakeholder groups. As Dr. Moore has indicated, our budget submission must be sent to Richland County by May the 1st. Our estimates of state revenues are based upon the budget as approved by House Ways and Means, and the related revenue projections that we've received from the State Department of Education. The local revenue estimate considers a 17 mil increase, which is the max millage per the cap, assuming it's approved by the board tonight and ultimately approved by Richland County Council. At the end of this presentation, as Dr. Moore stated, we've also included some additional needs that the district has, although we anticipate that there will not be enough revenue to fund those needs. However, should we later receive estimates from the state or the county with additional revenue, we will have a list of items that we can fund. As you are aware, Senate Finance has adopted its version of the budget, but we have not received the projections from the State Department as it relates to that budget. So what we present to you tonight, again, is based upon what's been passed by House Ways and Means. We do know that the Senate Finance included the same $112 million in state-aided classrooms that the House included in the budget, but there is some variations related to health insurance. So when we get to that section tonight, we will go over that in more detail. Okay, so I draw your attention to the last column of this slide entitled Revenue Increase. You will see that we are anticipating $6,323,252 in new revenue from the state. We are anticipating $1,521,375 in additional local revenue without a millage increase. This would bring our total new anticipated revenue for fiscal year 2026 to $7,844,627. With a millage increase submitted to and approved by County Council, we could anticipate up to an additional $6,868,000. This would bring our total anticipated recurring revenue up to $14,712,627. This is the amount of recurring funds that we used when we built this budget tonight to meet the needs as defined by the superintendent. As Dr. Moore has indicated, we've presented several colored sections throughout this presentation. The first being the green section, which lists the items that we could fund if there is no mill increase. So that's at $7.8 million. And so the first four requests, which total more than $4.5 million, are required by the state. And those include the teacher's step increase, health insurance increases for active and retirees, and a 2% increase to bus driver salaries. I draw your attention to priority number 3. So if the Senate version of the budget is what, if that passes, the cost for this particular line, which would be a 4.6% increase for health insurance, would be $1.2 million more than the amount that's listed here. So that would be a cost of $1.4 million, because in the Senate, they, the proviso states that there will be a 4.6% increase to all employees and not just retirees. So that line would be roughly a $1.4 million line, roughly a $1.4 million cost as opposed to $196,000. We would anticipate that if that version is passed, we would receive roughly between $300,000 and $400,000 in additional revenue to offset that additional cost. Okay. Item 5, at a cost of $2,195,100, would fund a step increase for all other employees. And then priority 6, for $1,061,160, would fund 12 positions to further our efforts related to special education compliance. When we go to the next slide, we go through items that would require a millage increase in order for us to fund. Item 7 again addresses special education compliance with 17 FTEs at a cost of $1.1 million. Item 8 would allow us to fund the increase, the anticipated increase in our contract with the Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff has informed us that we could anticipate a 2.5% increase in our current contract, and that would be at a cost of roughly $80,000. Item 9 would fund a $1,000 increase to the starting salary for teachers. So everyone has heard that the House and Senate Finance has approved a $1,500 increase to the state minimum salary schedule. Because we pay more than the minimum, we're not obligated by law to give a $1,500 increase. But we're requesting a $1,000 increase, which keeps us as competitive as possible with surrounding districts. We would collapse the Bachelor's 18 salary schedule for new teachers and continue to phase out the schedule for those existing teachers that are paid at that classification level. Okay, so the next slide in yellow is what could be funded with a max meal increase of 17 meals. Priority 10 allows us to fund increases in utility costs and property contracts at $545,801. Priority 11 allows us to fund an anticipated increase in our general liability and property insurance. Again, right now, this is our best estimate. We've been told that there will be a significant increase. We just don't know what that is right now, and we will not know how much this will be until we get closer to the June timeframe. Priority 12 funds a 1% increase for all other employees, and that cost has been partially offset by cuts to operating budgets here at the district level. Priority 13 for $400,000 allows us to partially fund the continuation of the classification and compensation study. Item 14 allows us to fund an alternative virtual education program with 1 additional FTE. Item 15 funds an additional SRO at Blythewood Academy for $88,913. And then item 16 allows us to essentially pay the increased audit fees, because we now have entered into a contract with a new auditor for our fiscal year 25 audit and for the next 3 years. And so the next 2 slides that represent priority 30 through 50, I won't go through those in details, but that's where we talk about those additional needs that we have that we don't anticipate receiving enough revenue to actually fund. Okay, and so this slide is included so that you could see the potential cost for non-owner occupied property if you were to approve a millage increase. And you could see that a max mill increase of 17 mills would cost $102 per $100,000 house and $20.40 per $20,000 car.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Board members, I just want to also highlight something that Ms. Williams mentioned, and that is, if you remember our original budget, based on needs that were submitted, it was at $44 million. We have drastically reduced costs across the district. Each department took a minimum of 2%. Some went as far as 6%, depending on what their budget, how much was in their budget. So for example, operations, we could not make as drastic of a cost because theirs is mainly contracts versus other departments. Yes, we had a lot of requests from our schools also, but in looking at where we're at right now and being a good steward of the resources that we are blessed to receive, I have made this recommendation to the board based upon those requests. And what I am asking for is that the board would consider requesting from the county council max millage to cover the cost as been identified. And with that, Madam Chair, we'll answer any questions.
Board members, are there any questions or comments? Mrs. Nash?
Yes, for items number 7 and 8, because, last year we ran into this, we kind of went through it. We had more of a sit down and we kind of prioritized a lot of things and, where the board wanted to see things. I guess my question is number 7 and 8, are you saying there's no way that we would have any funds, there's no possible funds that would come for number 7 and 8?
No, ma'am. Without a millage increase?
Yes.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You're saying, could we fund priority 7 and 8 within our existing operating
I'm saying.
budget?
I'm saying
sorry.
so last year, there were things that we couldn't fund prior to, or we thought we couldn't. And then, once we got past, the Senate and the House, then we found out that we could. I'm asking, is that a possibility for number 7 and 8?
No, ma'am, that's not a possibility. Last year, what we did that was a little different was we went into fund balance to fund items that were of a recurring nature. That is not something that I would recommend that we do again. So the short answer would be no.
Okay.
Unless we were to receive additional funding.
That's what I'm asking.
So the Senate today actually was engaged around budget conversations. They took the committee's recommendations. So hopefully, once they resolve and approve their budget and then go to conference with the House, hopefully we may see some increases, but right now we don't have any indication of what that would be because we don't have a budget from the Senate, only from the House Ways.
Right, that's what I was asking,
Well,
because that's
so
where
let
we
me,
were.
let me add a little bit to that. We do know that what's in state aid to classrooms is not changing. That's going to be locked because both the House and the Senate approved $112 million. So that is the largest line of funding for K-12 education. So I do not anticipate additional revenue unless we receive something for health insurance. But our increased costs would override the additional revenue that we would probably receive. So unless we receive some additional estimates of anticipated revenue, local revenue from the county auditor in June, I doubt seriously that we would be able to fund items 7 and 8.
Board members, are there any other questions? Mrs. Washington?
So I just want to clarify this on record. Items 1 through 6, these are the items that we have to fund.
Items 1 through 4 are those items that we have to fund by law.
And we are not getting any money from the state for any of these things that we have to fund by law.
We're getting $6.3 million in revenue, and we're required by law to do at least those top 4. So when you start hearing news from the state about funding the $1,500 increase, everything in that state funding formula operates around the cost of a teacher, right? But it takes more than a teacher to run a school district, okay? And so out of the $6.3 million that we are anticipating receiving from the state, $4.5 million is tied up in items 1 through 4. I hope that answered the question.
Board members, are there any other questions? If not, I do have a question. I know earlier I had mentioned about having an SRO at the location off of Fair Road. Help me out. What's, not Anna Board, the new
Pinnacle
location
Point.
where I think Dr. Super.
Pinnacle Point?
Pinnacle Point. So I didn't see that anywhere in here. So I would love to see how we can place an SRO at Pinnacle Point, because it is so crucial that we do that. That's the location where we actually have our hearings, and we can have parents come in sometimes, because we have well-behaved parents, but we do have sometimes when there are some concerns and issues, and that is considered, you know, one of our schools. And I did have a conversation with Sheriff Lott, and he has the bodies. We just need to fund that. So that is a priority, because I was at one of the workshops, and they said, if you want to know what the priorities are of anyone, whether it's personal or professional, look at where they place their money. And when I look at our priority list and our strategic plan, safety is at the very top. So if safety is at the top of that plan, why don't we have an SRO at that school? Because that is a school. So I would like to see that placed at the very top of the list, that we fund an SRO at Pinnacle Point, where we have our school hearings, to make sure that not only our students and parents are safe, but our employees that we invest in are safe as well. Thank you. Board members, any other questions? If not, we're going to move on to the next. Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Do appreciate that. We will now move to item 9.2, Reserve Fund Capital Projects and Other Non-Recurring Expenditures. Is that you, Ms. Williams? Well, thank you so much. That's why you're still standing there. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't sure, Dr. Moore, okay.
Okay, so we are voting. There's the motion. May I please have a motion on the proposal regarding the general fund budget for 2025, 2026? And is that with the millage that Dr. Moore mentioned? That's with the full millage?
So
Oh,
the
okay.
superintendent's request is for max millage to fund this budget.
Okay, do we have a motion for the proposal regarding the general fund budget for 2025, 2026?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve the request for the max millage increase for the fiscal year to 25-26 to fund the needs as presented.
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Williams and seconded by Mrs. Porter. Is there any discussion? Well, you have? Okay, Mrs. Nash, and then I'll go after Mrs. Nash. There are no other discussion.
So I think that I just want to make sure that I'm going to say this, on record. I know that we would like to max millage, but, and I said this last year, I mean, it's been a rough couple of years since COVID. We talk about it all the time here in the district. Imposing max millage, it seems like a little bit on there, but if anybody's looked at their tax bill, if you own a car, which is the majority of people in this area owns a car over $20,000, you may not own a house, but you do own a car. And my bill personally, I'll say, was $1,850. And we're asking, and on top of a housing assessment for those people who do own homes this year, to add an additional $100. That doesn't seem like a lot to a lot of people, maybe in here, but it seems like a significant amount to people out there. I am for adding 7 and 8, mainly 8, because I know that's something that we absolutely need to do, but I am not for a max millage of any kind.
Board members, any other comments?
Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Dennis?
Yeah, I've looked at this extensively, and it may not seem, to me, it doesn't seem like a lot for the max millage. I'll survive. But there are a lot of people out there that it's not. One of the things that's recently come to my view when I'm looking at investments and things like that is, Columbia, South Carolina is the #1 area right now for foreclosures. 1 in every 683 houses in quarter 1 is foreclosing right now. South Carolina, the actual state's 5th highest. And, Richland County, they just reassessed all the properties, so we're getting more money there. It's hard for me to go for a max millage. 7 and 8, that's something that I think needs to be done as well. But I can't fully support that only because of things going on at the State House. I'm afraid that if we ask for a max now, if it doesn't go well at the State House, next year we would possibly be really asking for a lot more, and it would be a double ask for something we're not going to get from the State House. And the sad thing is, I want to do all of this for our district, but our state legislators leaving us with a hard task at hand by not giving what they impose. So yeah, I can't support a max millage.
Mrs. Porter?
Yes, I just want to start with the number at the bottom for the max mill, number 16. That's our audit fee increase. I don't believe we have an option there. The SRO at Blythewood Academy, again, I've heard my colleagues and myself have said how important that is to us. I think we've recently even made visits. Number 14, virtual alternative education program. I know that we've had many of us advocate for us wanting that virtual alternative education program, especially for alternative schooling when it comes to our Blythewood Academy situation, and having more options for our students. Phase 2 of the classification and compensation study, we asked for that. 1% increase for all other employees with teacher pay, we asked for that. Increase in liability and property insurance, we can't help. Increase in annual operations and contracts, these are things that we also cannot change. And then when we go into number 9, which is a 12 mil increase, teacher salary increase, we already know how hard it's been. I think we've done a really good job the past 6 years with not asking for a mill increase. I feel like we've stretched it for a while, and I may be even wrong with that number, maybe more than 6 since 2020, okay. We've done well. I think we're at the point where we need to support our district, just like everyone else has gone through a tough time in the community with some of the changes. We've heard that, and we've done well by not asking for anything. And we can't continue to go in that direction without seeing a decrease in how we can support our families and students. This is our role, this is what we chose to do, and it's time for us to show that support. And that's my opinion. Thank you.
Mrs. Williams?
Madam Chair, I think it's just very important that we look at, like you said, what's important to us and what we hold as being important to us in supporting our community, the safety of our community, and even our population that, our special needs population. In order for us to be in compliance, which also affects us statewide, we have to have some things that, in place. We also need to look at, we had a group of librarians, school librarians come before us and said that as a district, we spend about $4 per student when it comes to providing books for our students. Honestly, that's really embarrassing to say that education is important to us. And if education is important to us, we need to be able to provide books within our schools for them to be able to read in their libraries as well. And to add money to be able to do that, we would be able to have to ask for a millage increase. Again, there are a lot of things on this list that might be in addition to 1 through 4. that are mandated, but the other items, in order for us to operate and be a premier district, we have to be able to ask for this millage increase that we have not asked for in years. So I believe that this increase levies out what we have not asked for in the past years. So I will be supporting the millage increase for our students, our teachers, and our community for the safety and the quality of education that they deserve, as well as us being in compliance.
Board members, any other comments? If not, I will
Madam Chair,
make,
I just had one quick comment.
absolutely.
By us saying that I don't support a full max millage doesn't mean I don't support our community. It actually means the opposite. I know that people have to come and be here, but they also have to be able to eat and pay their bills. Thank you.
Board members, any other comments? If not, I will make a comment. I will not be supporting a full max millage. I am open to negotiating that millage, but I don't think we are a poor district where Richland 2 has to go immediately to the max to be able to make sure that we're supporting our students and the community. And I think when we look at this holistically, we can ask for a lower millage rate and still be the premier school district that we want to be. I just think we have not asked for a while, but that doesn't mean that we have to go to, if you give a mouse a cookie, then he's going to ask for milk, and if you give him some milk, he's going to ask for a straw and continue. So I'm open to negotiate that, but I don't think that we're at a point where we have to ask for a full max millage. And even with the safety piece, I do believe, and I've been in this district a long time to know, that we've never had any financial issues, and we're not going to, because we're smarter than that. And we do have a fund budget that if we do have to tap into it, it's not going to diminish anything that we need to get done, and it's not going to have us in the red. So with that being said, I am open to negotiate that amount, but I will not support a full maximal millage. And you know that's very rare coming from me. But after studying this, I like to make decisions that are common sense and just make sense. And asking for a full millage rate, in my opinion, we're not at that state right now. So I have to be considerate of our taxpayers, our students, our teachers, and our community. So I will not be supporting it. Any other comments from board members? If not, we will call for the vote. The motion is 3 yes, 4 no. The motion fails. We will now move to item,
Madam Chair,
yes.
since
Dr.
the board
Moore.
has made that decision, I would ask the board to consider requesting 12 million. That will allow us to be able to give our teachers an increase and remain competitive with our surrounding districts. I recognize the need that we have in our district, and I am very sensitive to the impact of this request, but I also know that if we are to provide a quality education to the students that we have the privilege to educate, then we have to have certain things in place. And while in the past we have been able to use some fund balance, remember, fund balance is for non-reoccurring items, which we have a motion up, another next item is around fund balance. We cannot use fund balance for things like an SRO. That is a reoccurring cost for the person, as well as costs for teachers, our classified staff, and as well as everyone that works and supports our students. So I would request that the board consider a 12 mil. We've broken it out so that you can see what is included in that. That would cover numbers 1 through 9. Thank you.
So you're asking the board to make an additional motion?
Yes, ma'am. To submit. We are required to submit a budget. So right now, we do not have a budget that we can submit because the board opted not to go with my recommendation. So I put another recommendation on the table because we still need to submit a budget by May 1st.
Do we have a motion for a 12 mil budget?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Porter?
I move that we approve, I move that we approve the request for a 12 mil increase for fiscal year 2025-26 to fund the needs as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Porter and seconded by Mrs. Williams. Is there any discussion?
Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Porter?
Yes. I have a question. So should the 12 mil increase be approved, does that mean that we would not be able to fund an audit within our district? No. That's what I'm asking.
I can answer that, no. And let me just be a little clear here.
I have more questions too.
You know, I really hate this time of the year because we get here and things are presented to us, and it makes people go in this scare and this panic when we hear and see this stuff. If you look at what we have, and I'm going to say this again, Richland 2 is a rich school district, and I'm not going to be backed against the corner or wall when I hear we don't have the funding for this, we don't have the money for this, we can't do this, we can't do this. Everyone who knows me know that I'm a huge supporter of teachers, number one, because I've been one. I'm a huge supporter of school safety because that's number one. So I am not going to get in a panic mode and think that we cannot be a premier school district if we don't support the max, if we don't support 12, because I'm not supporting 12 either. So I'm not fearful, because what I do know is the funds that Richland 2 have, we're going to make it. We're going to make it regardless. And if you look at our general fund budget, if you look at how we spend money, teachers are still going to get their bonus. So I don't want teachers to think that if we don't vote a certain way because you hear comments that's not true, you're still going to get your pay. And if you don't get your pay, then maybe you need to come back to the school board and say to us, we need to cut funds at the top. Maybe the top is making too much money and we can't give that to our teachers. Because I'm not going to be bullied into trying to support something or to make the public and people think that we don't have money. We have money. So let's not do that. Let's not put fear into the hearts of people when we don't know what we're talking about. If we haven't looked at the last 3 years, then I think your comments need to be a little limited until you go back and look at our budget for the last 3 to 5 years and look how we spent our money. Look how we still supported teachers. Look how safety is still number one. Then make an educated decision. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Porter.
I have a few questions.
Absolutely. If you can do one, just in case someone else has one, then I can come back to you.
Okay, my
Okay,
first question.
absolutely.
My first question, though, I need clarification. You stated that we would be able to fund the audit fee, and I believe that that's a reoccurring fund, correct?
That's not for me to answer. That's for Ms.
thought
Williams
you
to answer.
said
But what
you-
I would say to you, as I just said to everyone else. If you look at our budget for the last 3 to 5 years, then you will be able to know whether we are in a poor school district or a rich one that we can afford to do a lower max, a lower millage, and still be able to have teachers at a competitive state where they still want to work in Richland too, as well as our school safety officers. But your questions, I will ask that you direct those to Dr. Moore, who's the superintendent, or you direct those to Ms. Williams. But I just made my comment. Thank you.
Okay, that was my first attempt, but you said that you wanted to answer it. So where am I directing my questions? I'm sorry, I'm confused.
I don't think you're confused. I think you're being funny. But your question should go to Ms. Williams. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Williams, can you please answer my first question?
As it relates to the audit fees, our audit fees are currently paid out of the school board's budget. So in order to fund that additional $55,000, we would have to reduce some other area, in order to compensate for that. So the answer is yes, we could.
But you would have to take the funds from where?
Some other line item within that budget, because that's where it's currently paid from. It's under the school board's budget.
So it would come from the school board's budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, I still have a few questions. I'll wait my turn.
Well, let me
Thank you.
get someone else and I'll come back. Is there any, Ms. Washington?
Yes, so I do know that we, year by year, for the past 3 years, our expenditures are increasing, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that is because of cost of living, all of these various, cost of contracts, and all of these various things, correct?
All of those things, correct, as well as increases to teacher salaries, and yes, all of those things. Yes,
So
ma'am.
last year, one of the points that I brought up, and I because I have reservations, but I said I'm not going to do a lot of talking this year. My concern is, even though we have an increase in expenditures, what are we doing in the district to decrease, because funding is also decreasing at the federal level, which could also impact us having to move items around, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Programs may be cut and all of these various things that while we're voting on the general fund budget, we still need to be thinking about at the federal level what will be impacted. So what are we going to do to ensure that we are looking at our programs, our initiatives, our contracts, and all of these things to see where we can cut so that we're not having to always continue to ask for more money every single year? Because every year, it seems like we've been asking for a millage increase. And I understand needs change. I understand our expenditures are getting great. But what are we doing to balance that out to say, all right, if our needs are increasing, what are some things that are not working that we're going to start taking off the table? Because we hear this a lot. We are top heavy, and I always hear we need all of those positions. We hear a lot that we have a lot of initiatives going on, and I hear we need all of those initiatives. Something's going to have to start coming off the table, especially when we keep talking about what's coming in the future in terms of no growth, because that's what we talked about, and we all keep hearing, nope, the district's not going to grow, but we're going to have additional schools that are coming in our district that's going to be pulling away. So I think it's just very important for us as a board, because it's nerve-wracking this time of year. We have a lot of decisions to make, and so I always like the reassurance to know, and not for us to just keep saying, yep, we're going to look at that. Yep, we're going to look. But what is our plan to start pulling things off of the table? Are we looking at, hey, we've got 5 positions and they're all doing the same thing. Unfortunately, something's got to come off the table if we're not seeing a return on our investment. So what is our plan for that? And it cannot start in 26, 27. It's something that many of us have asked for since we've been on this board. That's something to me that will be reassuring to say, I can, in fact, vote for a budget because I know these are needs, but I also know that we're looking at how we are funding and spending our money. And I would also urge us as a board that every month we get a report on our budget. We did that 2 times last year. We need to know how things are being funded, because guess what? We have 42 positions that we funded last year, and we have how many? 24 of them that are still unfilled. So all of these things are running through my head right now, but I'm not going to say much. I'm just going to vote. But you have to understand how we are getting this from your viewpoint, but we also answer to the public. And those are things that they are asking us as our constituents. And those are the things that we need reassurance on, that, hey, we're working on this. We got a plan for that. Yes, we understand that there are about 100-something positions at the top level. We're looking at consolidating departments and all of these different things. What's the plan? That's what I want to know.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. So as I said in my initial comments, we have cut district budgets. I know if you go and talk to the principals, they're going to tell you that everything that they asked for, most of it they did not receive, because we didn't feel that we could bring that with the budget structure that we currently have. Yes, we have positions that were funded last year that have not been filled, but that cost may have been shifted to cover additional cost in areas that popped up. For example, like we know we'll have to cover the additional cost of the audit. We know we'll have to cover the cost of additional inflationary costs, which we are doing out of fund balance, which is the next topic that we'll talk about. But we are being good stewards, and we are looking at areas that we can reduce. If you notice in here, there are no positions in here for growth. When we looked at our numbers, we know, based upon those numbers right now, that we need 6 positions for growth. But we didn't include that in here, because if we have the opportunity to repurpose something that we already have in place, we will do that. You'll also notice that in the max mill, we had asked for contracts for program evaluation. We did not offer anything we will not offer anything this summer that we are not required to by the State Department. So there is no SOAR this year. And I know parents are disappointed by that, but we do not have the funds by which to provide or to have that program. Yes, what you saw represented here is what Ms. Porter said. We had a request for SRO at Blythewood Academy. The board asked for that during the Blythewood Academy presentation. That cost of the reoccurring, there's additional costs for equipment the first year, which you will see in the fund balance piece. So our goal is to be a good steward of the resources that we have, but we also recognize that there are costs that are going up that we have to pay. And trying to remain competitive with our surrounding districts is important, but also remembering that, as you saw in those top 4 items, these are things we are required to do. It is hard for me as the superintendent to say, we're going to give teachers an increase because we're required to give them a step increase, but then I do not have enough money to give that to our classified staff. And I'm not trying to paint a gloom and doom picture. And that's not the case, Dr. Scott. These are the dollars that we have based upon what the budget from the House Ways and Means Committee has given us. So we have presented our budget to the board for consideration. I'm not sure if I fully answered your question, Ms. Washington, but this is where we're at right now.
Board members, are there any other questions? If not, I'm going to call for the vote. Ms. Porter?
So I'm looking at the items in yellow. It's in the 17 mil. And I just need to know, before making the vote for the 12, if, well, one thing that I believe I know, just confirm for me, please. All these items, 10 through 16, are reoccurring funds, correct?
Yes, ma'am, correct.
So because that's not going to get approved, you'll have to pull no matter what, because these are things that we can't change, aside from the SRO at Blythewood Academy, the others, you'll have to pull funds to fund those items from other places within our regular budget.
The only item, we will not be able to pull 12, 13, 14, 15, and we can take 16 out of the current board's budget, we will have to fund property insurance and liability. So that means we're going to have to reduce something somewhere in this district to pay for whatever this increase is. We have no choice. That's the only thing that I can say yes to off this list, but we cannot fund, we do not have enough money to fund a 1% increase for all other employees out of recurring dollars.
And because that's reoccurring, it cannot be taken from the fund balance.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, that's correct.
I just want to make sure, because that's what's presented in front of me. There's no other information that's not presented that we need to be aware of where the funds would come from.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Board members, any other questions?
Madam Chair, I just had one thing to
Yes,
say.
Ms. Nash.
You know, I want to challenge our board members as well as our community. When we see big projects coming, and I have definitely heralded this, and we give out deferred taxes to big companies, that affects this area. And it affects Northeast more than any other place, specifically when it's here, because that's where the majority of the taxes come from. But to not herald to them about doing deferred taxes for big companies and then place that burden on us to make that decision and put it back on taxpayers. They're carrying that burden, and I'm not going to put that on them. I am going to continue to challenge everyone who vies for the deferred taxes for big business here to change it to where our schools benefit. Thank you.
Board members, any other comments? Ms. Washington?
It's a question. Although we're submitting this, we still can move items around.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is just the budget in terms of the number in a draft, but we can still move things around.
Yes, ma'am, we just need the total dollar amount that
Right.
we're going to submit, and then you can figure out what you'd like to fund with that dollar amount.
Board members, any other questions? If not, I'll just make one other comment. I have no fear, and I'm not supporting this, but I do support teachers' salaries. I do support safety, and whether this passes or not, teachers, you don't have to worry. You'll still get your pay raise. Don't buy into the foolishness. Thank you. Is there a motion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. The vote is the vote is 4 yes, 3 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 9.1, General Fund Budget for 2025-2026, first reading. Dr. Moore?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request for funding for non-reoccurring dollars from our fund balance. So as we shared during the board workshop, there are a list of items that we are recommending that we fund out of our fund balance because they are non-reoccurring dollars. Some of the items that you will see here, board, like number 17 and 18 when the slide comes up, are things that we agreed to last year, the board agreed to support. We cut back on the amount and said we would use fund balance to offset. So this is an example, Ms. Washington, of what you were asking about. What you will see in here are other items that we feel will help our staff be as successful as they can be with supporting our students. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Williams.
Okay, so in addition to the recurring needs we've just discussed, we also have, as Dr. Moore said, additional needs that can be funded with one-time non-recurring dollars through fund balance. Excuse me. And the budget that we have to submit to Richland County on May the 1st includes a section on the use of fund balance. And so, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with this cough. So the items in gray represent 13 items that could be funded with our general fund balance. As Dr. Moore said, number 17 is for the maintenance of retention ponds. I'm sorry. Item 18 relates to HVAC compliance, 2025 new refrigerant rules. 19 and 20 relate to one-time bonuses. 19 is a retention bonus for all staff, so that's $600 for full-time, $300 for part-time staff. Item 20 relates to the special education sign-on bonus, and that's a $2,000 bonus for special education teachers and $1,000 for special education instructional assistants. 20 and 21 represent curriculum. 23 is a $15 per student allocation for library books for a total of $420,000. 24 relates to professional development. 25 relates to equipment for the SRO at Blythewood Academy, but if the priority doesn't change, that was not included in the recurring request as just passed. 26 relates to funding for the ERP system. 27 would fund a contract services for program evaluations to kind of get at your question, Ms. Washington. And then 28 and 29 would fund additional supplies and tools related to special education. And that's at a total of $4,043,045. We're also asking for a one-time transfer to capital projects, to our capital project fund, to address the inflationary costs associated with completing projects from our 2018 bond referendum. Okay. And so this last slide it shows our fund balance, the history of our fund balance over several years, our projected fund balance at the end of fiscal year 25, which is that 2025 estimate, and then estimated fund balance at the end of 26. If you approve both that $4 million transfer and that $11.5 transfer to the capital projects fund. And so I draw your attention to the fourth column over that says total fund balance, right? So that's our assigned and our unassigned balance. And then the months of fund balance in the middle column, expenditures can be covered by our fund balance. And so you see that in 26, we would project 2.7 months of expenditures in our fund balance. State law requires 1 month, which is $33.4 million, and I'm looking at the 2026 numbers. Board policy and GFOA require 2 months. That's $66.9 million. And in order to maintain our current bond rating, we would need $80,292,000. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Board members, I will remind you that last year we did borrow $20 million from our fund balance. We agreed to pay back a percentage of that over a period of time. We did not do that, correct, Ms. Williams?
Okay, so in order to balance the budget from last year, we use $5 million
$5 million.
in non-recurring fund balance. And we set aside, or we assign $20 million in order to be able to have enough cushion to cover those recurring costs for a 4-year period. But in order to make this whole plan work, we needed to have put $1,250,000 back into our recurring base each year for a 4-year period to make up that $5 million. So that's what you see in that column called assigned fund balance. You'll see that at the end of '24, the $20 million, because we had to use $5 million for the fiscal year '25 budget. Now we have $15 million left. Since it does not appear that we'll be able to put anything back at the end of '26, we'd have $10 million, and that's just kind of how that math works out.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Also, number 19, this is a comment or a request because this comes up every year for a mid-year bonus, an end-of-year bonus. So we put that in the budget so that we could be prepared for that. I remember in December, Ms. Washington, you asked about a sign-on bonus, what we could do for our special education. You also asked about a program evaluator that is reflected in this budget also. The other items that you see here are curriculums that we will be using to support our students, as well as updating our equipment and for technology for our school psychologists who came and spoke to the board about their needs. So the items that are funded through this request, as well as the 11.5 due to inflationary costs for referendum projects, is non-reoccurring dollars that we can use fund balance for. And so that is our request tonight, is that the board would approve that the use of those funds for these particular items. Thank you.
May I have a motion? May I have a motion regarding the reserve-funded capital projects and other non-recurring expenditures?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Washington.
I move to approve the request of use of fund balance to cover non-recurring costs in the fiscal year 25-26 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who second?
Ms. Porter?
Okay. The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington and seconded by Mrs. Porter. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The motion is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 10.0, new business, no action requested. Information technology update, Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to introduce Mr. Tommy Carter, our Chief Technology and Innovation Officer, to present to the board.
Good evening, Board Chair, Board members, Dr. Moore. It's my pleasure to present an overview of the Technology Department and some of the work that we're doing. With this presentation, there's a lot of material here. I don't intend to cover all of it. We'd be here all night. So I'm going to pick and choose a few things to delve into, and can address anything in more specificity that you like at the end. So just first a breakdown of the 4 functional areas of the Technology Department. Technical services, these are things like field support, with break fix, computers, PCs, laptops, Chromebooks. We deploy thousands of devices every year. That's what those staff are doing. Application support, Microsoft Office isn't working, Google Workspace support, any system that's in the cloud, on the computer, anywhere in between. We're supporting a lot of those things. Data center and network, these are servers, data storage, backups, firewalls, security systems, all of those sorts of things that our engineering staff support. Special systems, these are the oddballs that require some kind of cross-departmental collaboration. We work jointly with operations to support systems like security systems, door controls, PA systems, anything where there's a requirement for a little more hands-on knowledge of those particular systems in depth. So we work closely with operations on those. Business services. We support the HR and finance system, the ERP system, not just the software, but the platform that it runs on. We work with them to perform a lot of the functions in the system, so there's a lot of hands-on work with those systems. Student systems, Power School, that's the main thing that you think about there. But it's also all of the things that connect to Power School and depend on Power School. There are many, many systems that integrate with it and depend on it. So we, in some way, support all of those many systems. Custom applications. So you're familiar with our online school choice web application. That's something we developed in-house. We have a developer on staff who created that. You really can't find anything off the shelf to match what we have for school choice. And it's something that other school districts, I think, envy, and we're very proud of that one. And some other, business functions. We have HR contract management. That's an application that we built. Mileage reimbursement. When folks drive from school to school, they claim mileage, and the application to do that, something that we built. And then asset management. So that's the physical receipt, preparation, deployment, tracking, retirement, disposal, and recycling of physical assets. So, when computers need to be delivered or recovered and disposed of. And we have administrative services, so that's things like fund management. So we're managing contracts, recurring contracts for things like, say, our Microsoft subscription or our Cisco subscriptions. We negotiate and manage and renew and overview those things every year. Regulatory compliance, so we're working with the state on managing access to state-level systems in the DEEM system. We are ensuring SIPA compliance for content filtering at the state level. E-rate, regulatory compliance, where we're providing our audits and our inventory reports to USAC with the federal government. And then finally, innovation services. And innovation services, I have another slide to dig into more detail on that, but innovation services is about working with staff and students and coming up with solutions to real-world problems to improve our district and our community. And so we've done some great work there. For innovation services, there are four main categories of the types of things that we do in innovation. And some examples include our innovation incubator. One of my favorites is the Dent Middle School Seed to Table program. This is where we have a community gardening and outdoor classroom activities at Dent Middle School, and they produce vegetables that they actually offer to the community in a community event. And the goal there is to address the problem of food deserts in the Midlands area, which was news to me. I didn't realize that we have communities in the Midlands that just don't have access to fresh produce. So we found that out through this project. An accelerator project that we have that we like is our theater tech program, and it's administered by our district auditorium staff, and that's where they mentor and train students in theater production management and support, and at the end of it, the students can achieve a certificate for a profession if they choose. We have, in team building, we have the Kelly Mill Way. That's a project where the staff established a faculty culture to enhance communication and that leads to peaceful, positive, and productive environment. They developed basically an operation manual so that they have consistent language in how they deal with each other and how they deal with students to make sure that they're consistent in how they handle things like just how do we travel down the hallway in a productive and safe manner. And they want to make sure everybody's communicating in the same way. Lego Serious Play. This is using Lego products to encourage dialogue, reflection, and problem solving. You build 3D models to help students and staff work through problems and arrive at solutions. So that's a very popular industry innovation technique. Some of our collaborations and initiatives, as I said, we cover a lot of ground, do a lot of work. Student one-to-one program, this is a Chromebook for every student. Work with schools to manage that, and it's a really phenomenal program. Also takes a lot of work to support that. Safety and security, we work with operations to support things like video surveillance, door controls, emergency notification systems. Staff and student ID systems for the physical badges. We implement a new system for that and work with schools and operations to support that. School bus video and tracking systems. Network and telephony upgrades, so our Cisco voice systems run on the network. Our network upgrades, our Wi-Fi, internet access, we're working on those projects now. In 2025, we're working with federal E-rate funding to secure new network equipment across the district. So that's something that we expect to take place in later 2025. Desktop and laptop upgrades, we are always doing that. That's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. It's just a constant cycle. We do thousands, it's just a continuous process. Right now, we're focusing on upgrading all machines to Windows 11 so that we can stay ahead of the security end of service dates from Microsoft. And so that's really important. As you know, in this day and age with ransomware and other potential threats, we have to make sure that we're in compliance and that we have supported operating systems that Microsoft supports. Student activity, content filtering, classroom tools so that teachers can monitor and control what students are doing on the internet. And then also so that parents can get some insight into what the students are doing on the devices in terms of their web activity. And they also have now have some degree of control over what students can do while they're off campus. So if a parent decides that they do or do not prefer that the student have access to some types of social media, they can control that. Or they can tell the device to sleep for some time. If they want the student to take a break, they can do that as well. Artificial intelligence, hot topic, and we formed a task force with a diverse group of folks from around the district at all levels to discuss issues, concerns, strategies, and to try to come up with an action plan. So that task force was very productive, and out of that, we made some recommendations and came up with a strategy. We also are in the final phases of selection and procurement of a product to introduce to students and staff to give them some generative AI tools to make their lives easier. Try to help teachers to save some time. Jack Carter used to do a report about facilities, and he would give the superintendent a count of the number of toilets in the school district, and I always thought that was a fun one. So my version of that is Chromebooks. We have 34,000 Chromebooks, so we have one for every student. We also maintain stock so that we can keep the gears turning as Chromebooks are damaged, lost, develop one problem or another. Students don't have to wait while we take that Chromebook and repair it and return it to them. We have an instant swap process, so their downtime is very short, and then we repair the other device on the back end and return it to stock, and it's a cycle that just keeps running constantly. And so that enables us to do that very effectively and efficiently. Interesting, when we implemented the Chromebook project in 2011 is when we started the one-to-one project in its current form, and we actually reduced our Windows desktop and PC inventory by 45%, from 20,000 down to about the current account of 11,000. And so it's not a complete wash, but Windows PCs cost more, and we therefore offset a giant desktop footprint. District fiber, this is just a fun one. We, back in probably 1999, 2000, we started to bury our own fiber optic cabling. Richland 2 is a large district, but geographically we're fairly small. So it was economical for us to bury our own fiber. We've been able to do things that other districts can't do. For example, consolidate and scale up instead of scaling out. And for example, the video surveillance product that we have, Avigilon, Richland 2, we have 10 higher performance centralized servers instead of, in terms of networking, you might see a much larger scaled out system. Capital savings, support savings, and it's really much more efficient due to that fiber network. And I see I've expired. I will go even faster for the incident reports. This is one thing I'm really proud of. We do provide a lot of service through tickets. So tickets don't represent everything that we do. We certainly work on a lot of projects, but tickets are a good indicator of at least one type of service that we provide. And you can see a couple years worth of data there. In the year 22-23, we had 26,947 tickets for the year. And that's everything. So that's Chromebooks is the lion's share of it. But upon cases for student Chromebooks, we saw a sharp reduction in breakage. And so that was really a great success story there, and we're glad that we could improve on that. And that concludes the presentation, Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. We're very proud of the decrease that you saw on the last slide, board members, and that's awareness in our schools with our TLCs, our principals and teachers encouraging students to be good stewards of the items that we provide to them. Also, I want to publicly commend, I know the board is aware of this already, but earlier this year, there was a breach with Power School. There were only 4 districts in the state of South Carolina that did not or were not impacted, and that is because of Mr. Carter and his team and their push house where we control it, and as a result of that, we were not impacted by that breach. So thank you, Mr. Carter, and with that, I'll open it up to board for questions.
Board members, are there any questions? Any questions from board members? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Carter. Do appreciate that. We will now move to item 10.2, policy revisions proposal, policy DJ, purchasing. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would ask that Dr. Marshall Franklin, our Deputy Superintendent, present to the board the recommended changes to the policy.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Madam Chair, members of the board, those of you who were on the procurement code for the district, so the proposed revision to policy DJ reflects the date the procurement code was adopted and the date it went into effect. Any questions about that one?
Board members, are there any questions? Seeing none, we would move now to policy 10.3, policy revision proposal, policy ADF, school wellness.
Okay.
Dr. Moore.
Dr. Franklin.
Thank you. So the USDA made a final ruling regarding school nutrition programs. Since that time, the School Boards Association and the South Carolina Department of Education update the relevant model policies, and policy ADF is one of those. The changes proposed in the draft revision reflect the SBA's current model policy.
Board members, are there any questions? Mrs. Porter?
Does the changes on here change what we're allowed to offer to our students when it comes to food choices with our current contract?
With that question, I'll yield to our food service coordinator, and she's shaking her head no as she comes to the podium.
Oh.
But I do recognize that the more significant changes was like the section on water. The section on water was not previously in our vision. Also specifically identifies the number of fundraisers we can have that are not that are outside of the smart food choices. But Ms. Nicole will answer the question about lunch choices.
No, the wellness policy does not affect the items that we can serve in the cafeteria
Can you
for
come
lunch.
closer to the mic, please?
It does not affect the items that we can serve in the cafeteria for lunch. All that this is for your smart snack compliance items, which are a la carte items and items that we sell outside of the cafeteria and vending machines and things of that nature.
So does it give you more items that
No.
you can? Okay. Thank you.
Board members, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Dr. Franklin. We will now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting is May 13th, 2025. The board will meet and call to order at 5:30 p.m. After that, we'll have the approval of the agenda, followed by executive session, which will include student appeals, student admission request into the district's adult education program, employment recommendation, and certified releases. Resume public session at 6:30 p.m., followed by the inspirational moment and Pledge of Allegiance. The board will then move to the consent agenda, which would include approval of consent agenda, approval of minutes from the previous meeting, continuous improvement, classified employment releases, and in-district recognitions. And yes, this is a change, board members. We normally do that the second meeting of the month. However, students will be out of school by that point, so the recognition has been moved up to May 13th. Then we'll have voting on executive session items, which would include student admission request into the district's adult education program, employment recommendations and certified releases, and as needed for items discussed in executive session. We'll then move to unfinished business, action requested. The board will vote on policy revisions for policy DJ purchasing and policy revision approval for policy ADF school wellness. We'll then move to new business, no action. The board will receive a third quarter financial report and a communications and strategic partnership update. We'll then move to the agenda items for the next meeting, which would be the draft agenda for the May 27th, 2025 regularly scheduled board meeting. And then our if needed items of public participation, executive session, voting on executive session items, and conclude with board and superintendent comments.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Board members, are there any revisions or additions you would like to see made to the next agenda meeting or future agenda? 8.0, board and superintendent comments. We will start with Ms. Williams.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out this evening, as well as our students on the STEP team as well. They did an amazing job. I wish I could step like that, but I have no rhythm. So they did more than I could ever do. And I love those initiatives within our district that promote unity and acceptance. And I just want us to leave with this as well. Unity is not about agreement on everything, but about working together with respect for our differences and strength and our shared purpose. So just keep it in mind that as we figure out our budget, that we might not agree at all times, but for us to be respectful in our differences as well for the shared purpose of this district, Richland School District 2.
Ms. Nash.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to say the STEP team, absolutely awesome. And then shout out to Windsor. I got to be on the safety patrol last week, and that was like probably one of the best times I've ever had. They are amazing, and just to see the joy that they have when they greet all the kids, I can't wait to do it again. And then they also do a really cool thing where they have their own crime lab. I loved it all, and so I just want to say thank you to them. But it's been a very long night, and I want everybody to be able to go home. So
Yesterday, congratulations to all the students who are actually going into education and committing to teach in schools. I want to say salute to each of you for your commitment to education. Happy testing week next week to all of our elementary and middle schools. Have a great evening, everyone, and a great rest of your week.
Mr. Dennis.
Thank you to all the presenters today. And I actually got to the Northeast, Ridgeview, and Blythewood today at the State House. It was their advocacy day, so we were there, and I wanted to say thank you to Representative Ballantyne, Grant, Bauer, and Senators Devine and Walker. They talked with the students, and then the students were also recognized up in the gallery, so that was pretty cool to see the students get recognized like that. But there was something that kind of, because one of the comments that were made was, well, does my vote really count? Yes, your vote counts. And we went over that. And one of the things was over over our spring break, I got to attend the 80th anniversary of the attack on the USS Laffey, and that's one of the destroyers that's down at Patriots Point. It meant a little bit more because I was stationed in Okinawa. Now, granted, I wasn't stationed there in World War II, but I was stationed there, so I seen where the boat sat, and you know that boat was called the Ship That Would Not Die. It had over 22 kamikaze pilots that attacked that boat. So we lost 32 brave sailors that day, along with, 71 were wounded.
Mr. Trapp.
Thank you. I'd just like to say a couple of things. First off, I was just the happiest person in the world tonight until we got down to maybe 8 or 9. Yeah, section 9 here. 7 was great. Let me say, before I say something about that, let me just say, this is just the worst possible night, I think, to be on the board. Either half the community is mad at half of us, and the other half is mad at the other half. Okay, it's no way around it. We can't win, but I think we do our best, and I think we'll just see how this budget thing works out. But I do want to go back to the special recognitions tonight. It is just so rewarding to see these students that have done so well on the board 2 years, and I think I'm a little more easy in front of the camera. But some of these children are so awkward, and it is so wonderful to see to see them come up here and receive these awards, and one day I hope they are as comfortable in front of an audience and a crowd as most of us are now. But it is truly a privilege, a genuine privilege, to be here and experience that, and to see the look on their face and the relief they feel after they've got it and head back to seat. But I appreciate everything our teachers and our principals, our coaches, and all the people that have helped these students accomplish these wonderful things. And I know this district does wonderful work. I never hear anything negative out in the community, even in other parts of the state. Richland, too, has gotten a very good reputation for turning out or for producing really good students. And I think we should be very proud of the board as the administration as we are making an environment where that's going to and everybody that makes that possible. And everyone have a good evening.
Ms. Porter.
Yes, I wanted to thank the Showtime Steppers this evening. They did a great job. I've seen them perform a couple of times, and it's always good. So thank you to them. And also congratulations to all of the award recipients this evening. Thank you to the community members and the different business partners that we have that have contributed in sharing their voice for the budget. It doesn't go unnoticed. We were supplied with this large binder here. And then if you look to the back, you'll see all of the individual comments that were collected from our students and our partners. And I did bring that, and thank you for all of you who have contributed your comments and what you wanted to be added to the budget, even if you didn't get it what you wanted. Thank you for contributing what you saw as a need for our district. And thank you, Ms. Williams, for your work as usual. Have a good evening.
Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to say first and foremost, welcome back to everybody, because we had spring break last week. So I hope that everyone had a restful and rejuvenating spring break and had time to recover, because we are in the final stretch of school this year. Today I did 2 data meetings, and we talked about how are we closing out this year strong with testing beginning next week, but then how are we preparing also for as we continue to give our best to our students and to our schools, as well as to our Richland 2 community. It's been a busy week already. We had a wonderful visit at Langford Elementary School with our state superintendent, Ellen Weaver. She came to read to our military children as a part of Month of the Military Child Celebration. She shared a wonderful story from Paddington the Bear. That was her favorite book when she was in 3rd grade. And as you can see from the pictures, the kids were engaged, and it was a wonderful way to kick off a Monday morning. We also, as Ms. Washington said, had our future educators signing day and dinner last night. This was a very special event where we hired future educators for our district. These are phenomenal young people here for them, and they're going to major in education. And so we were very excited to recognize them, because these outstanding students represent the future of our district. And I told them I will be proud to shake their hand in 4 years when they graduate and come back and be a Richland 2 teacher. Mr. Dennis talked about the fact that our student council was at the State House today advocating. So I just want to once again celebrate those students and recognize them for their commitment. We have been talking with them all year long, Mr. Dennis, around advocacy and how to advocate appropriately. And so thank you for being there with them. Just want to let you know for our parents of special education that our special education interagency team will be hosting a community resource night at R2I2 this week for parents of students with disabilities. This evening event will offer parents access to over 50 community vendors providing healthcare, insurance resources, community living resources, and employment opportunities. So we invite our Richland 2 families to join us on Thursday, April 24th, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. to participate in this wonderful event. Also want to let you know that all of our parents and our students that we are going to do a phenomenal job next year, because I know our schools have been working very hard to prepare our students for success. So parents, please remember, it's important that your student come to school every single day, that they get a good night's sleep, that they come ready and prepared. Make sure that we are setting our students up for success, because our goal is to finish strong. And last but not least, we are blessed to have a board chair who always takes in consideration the impact of family on our community. And she has always recognized a couple of people this year. And so what I would like to say, Dr. Scott, on behalf of the Richland School District 2 Board of Trustees and the entire Richland 2 family, we would like to express our deepest condolence to you and to your family for the passing of your beloved brother, Curtis Elkins. We know that the family is the cornerstone of who we are and who you are, and losing someone so dear leaves a profound void. Curtis was not only a devoted brother, but a cherished member of our community, and his legacy lives on in the hearts of those who knew and love him. So I would ask if you would all join me for a moment of silence for Dr. Scott and her family. May the love of those around you and the peace that comes from the cherished memories bring you comfort and strength in the days ahead, Dr. Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. I was okay, and then you got me full, so thank you so much. Want to say thank you to my colleagues in my absence, because I have not been here the way I should have. So I want to say thank you, especially to Mrs. Porter, for always filling in when I call at the last minute and say, Ms. Porter, can you do this? Can you do that? So Ms. Porter, I want to recognize you publicly and say thank you for being that support that I needed as the vice chair. So I do appreciate that. And to all my colleagues, thank you for your love and support. I shared as a caregiver for my brother for the last year. So thank you so much to Showstoppers STEP team and to all of them that received awards this evening. Thank you for all your work and your dedication. And to Jaden, I think we shorted you one certificate. So I would say to you and your parents that we would love to invite you to come back at the May 13th meeting to give you your other certificate, because Jaden Wilson had the opportunity to actually, I think he set new records in track for Westwood High School. And we forgot to recognize the coach who was actually here with him, as well as giving Jaden his second award. So I will invite them to come back to the May 13th meeting. And with that said, we'd like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Washington.
I move to adjourn the April 22nd.
It has been made by Mrs. Washington and seconded by Mr. Dennis. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, board members, please vote. We can take a hand vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. The meeting stands adjourned.